Here with speed and hustle and competitive fire, Dave Cowens. Dave? Here is the Celtic for whom the word sixth man was coined. He played on the first Celtic championship teams of the Russell era, Frank Ramsey. And speaking of sixth man, this Celtic great did more to popularize that role than anybody in history. He played with unflagging energy and abandon. He is among the Celtic leaders in virtually every category. Hall of Famer John Havlicek. This next Celtic legend isn't even a Celtic, but he did play a role in Larry Bird's success. Before every game at the Garden, while the national anthem was played, Larry focused his attention on this former Bruins retired number. There it is up above, and here he is, number 4, Bobby Orr.
Fox 25's coverage of
playing on local courts with his friends, Larry didn't seem destined for greatness. But thanks to countless hours spent practicing alone, an incredible transformation began.
It was just like magic wand had touched him, because we'd never seen him play like that.
Larry would make Springs Valley High School proud by earning a scholarship to revered Indiana University. But after only 24 days, he would hitchhike home.
It was a decision I made and something I had to live with, and I thought about it before I did it, and it just, you know, I would like to stay there, but it just wasn't for me.
Though he quickly settled into a job with the streets department, he kept his dream alive and soon left the sanitation truck behind to head for nearby Indiana State. And from the moment he donned the Sycamore uniform, he would make the most of his second chance.
Every offense we ran, the first thing we wanted to happen was Larry to touch the ball. And that was our goal, was get it in his hands 75% of the time that we had it. And, you know, it worked.
By his senior season, Larry would lead the unknown Sycamores to the nation's longest win streak.
The way we were beating teams was just on pure guts and determination. So we just got in our minds that we weren't going to get beat.
Leading ISU to their first berth in the NCAA tournament, Bird would carry them on a miraculous ride to the final game. Though he would lose to Magic Johnson's Michigan State in this climactic contest, he had given Indiana State and the basketball world a season they would never forget.
Larry, let's talk briefly about those early years prior to the NBA. What was it like in the Indiana State High School tournaments? They made a movie about it. It must be something for people outside the state to try and understand it.
Well, usually in Indiana, in Indiana, everybody's eligible for the state championship. There's no classes, everybody's eligible. So we're a very small school. And we always felt that we had a chance to win a sectional or maybe a regional. We was never good enough to go all the way state. But we had one special year in '58 where we made the state. But in my year, you could always count on a full house. We had 2,800 people in the town of French Lick, and our gym held 2,300. So, so you sort of get a feel of what type of basketball was played there. And during my years, we fielded it regularly, and it was a lot of fun because you're always competing against better schools, bigger schools, and it was a challenge every night out.
Have you ever had a conversation since you arrived in the NBA with Bob Knight about your decision to leave Indiana?
Never. I've seen Bobby a few times in golf tournaments and around, but there's no use talking about it. Everything worked out for the best.
Do you have a memory after leaving Indiana State, coming to the NBA? You have a memory of the first game you played, first one that counted, regular season game with the Celtics?
Well, I remember leaving IU because I remember it was a long walk home. But once I got to the Celtics, the one thing I really remember about the first game is somebody lit a dove out, or a pigeon, a white bird, and I knew right then that it was something special. The first shot I took, I missed, and I ended up getting the rebound, putting it in with my left hand, but it was all a fall. I didn't think it was such a big deal, but as I played 2 or 3 games, I knew I was in for a tough career here, because I knew Dave Cowens told me when I first came in, he goes, the one thing about playing in Boston is don't go about it 90 or 80%, because the fans know basketball here. And that stuck with me. And he said, if you dog it, they know. So play 100% every night, you'll have no problems.
You know, we mentioned earlier that you're following Russell and Cousy and Heinsohn and Havlicek, and Cowens was still on the team. But an even more daunting prospect, you got Steve Kabersky's number. I mean, that was something right there, right?
Well, I heard when Steve was playing, he said his number's going to go up in the rafters like everyone else. So tonight, I guess he's right.
So let's take a look now at some of the highlights from those first few years with the Celtics, capped, of course, by the '81 championship in the finals against the Rockets. Roll it, boys.
Drafted in the NBA by the struggling Boston Celtics, Bird was looked upon as the savior of their proud tradition.
Everything's starting to fall into place. I hope you all realize this. We got Larry, 1 or 2 little moves, and we're ready to go.
Having finished in last place the season before, the Celtics hoped that this 21-year-old basketball wonder boy from rural Indiana would be the cornerstone of a new dynasty. But he would prove to be even more than they could have imagined.
Shake loose to Larry Bird. Bird, beautiful pass to Ford. Ford, a three-point shot. Bird, a rebound and a basket, and he's fouled. Bird, tremendous instinct for the offensive board that time. Celtics have got 3 seconds. 2. Bird, a runner. It's good. Yes, indeed. 28 seconds. Bird, slap pass to Archibald.
Ahead to Henderson, the Bird on the cut. Beautiful!
Leading the Celtics to the largest single-season turnaround in NBA history, Bird would capture Rookie of the Year honors and revitalize both the franchise and its fans.
Bird! Listen to the crowd!
And in his second season, he would lead the Celtics confidently into the playoffs on a mission to recapture championship glory. Though they would fall behind 3-1 to the Sixers in the conference finals, Bird would simply refuse to let the Celtics' title hopes die. Playing with ferocious determination, he would lead one of playoff history's most dramatic comebacks as the Celtics clawed their way back to even the series at 3. The Sixers could only watch as Bird delivered the knockout blow.
Bird coming to the left. Stop and pop off the glass. It's gone. Boston leads 91-89. Bobby Jones is going to put the ball in play. And the pass hits the top of the backboard. And it's over. They won 3 in a row. They came from 3 of 1 down. And they have won the series. It's all over.
Bird had brought the finals back to Boston Garden. And now the Celtics look to raise the 14th championship banner to its hallowed rafters.
Larry Bird follows his own shot. Oh, what a point. As soon as he shot that ball, Boy, Henderson broke it up. There's Bird again. Larry Bird with a steal. Henderson back to Bird. Beautiful. Look at this crowd.
The Houston Rockets could only helplessly watch as the Celtics methodically eliminated them in 6 games, led by a determined Larry Bird. In just 2 years, this young Hoosier had taken Boston from last place to an NBA championship, fulfilling their wildest dreams.